Hey folks, this is going to be a very different kind of video from me. Typically I do these full-on reviews, I do video essays, but this is going to be the first time where I actually share a story from my childhood, and it has to do with Kingdom Hearts and my parents' divorce. By the way, this video will come from a place that is personal, and the point of the video is more of a testament to the power of video games when it comes to escapism, and how, for the most part, the significance we place on these games, it develops in a way where it's subconscious, where it's like you don't know that you're building these nostalgic memories or sentimental memories. They just happen. And it's not until looking back in hindsight that you realize how important they are to you. And for me, it is with Kingdom Hearts when it comes to my family drama and my parents splitting up. Let us begin. In the early 2000s, I was on the precipice of becoming a teenager. I believe in 2001, I was in 6th grade, I believe. And I had a PlayStation 2. I loved it. I had Ace Combat 4, one of the coolest games ever to me, blew my mind. But there was a game I saw on TV, a trailer for it, a commercial even, and that game had a bunch of Disney characters running around with this anime kid, and it was called, you guessed it, Kingdom Hearts. I had no idea what I was looking at. I was utterly confused. I had no idea why I saw the characters from Final Fantasy X hanging out with Mickey and Goofy and Donald. It blew my mind, and I wanted to know more. I actually played Final Fantasy X before playing Kingdom Hearts, so I had a little bit of a crash course about Final Fantasy. That was the only Final Fantasy game I ever played up to that point. But enough context for me to know what I was getting myself into. Titus and Waka. Yeah. So I was looking forward to the release of Kingdom Hearts. It was gonna be a game that I wanted to get myself into. And there was another thing going on in 2002 that I was quite excited about. And it too was on a Disney level of branding and very serendipitous timing. My family was planning a trip to go to Disney World for a vacation. And this was the first time going to Disney as a family where I was actually a conscious being. I went there before as a kid. I had no memory of it though. But now I was a middle schooler. And I'm I can retain these memories. And I can actually make requests and have fun and know what I'm getting myself into. And it was such a great trip. I loved it. I loved it so much, guys. There was one evening where my two sisters and my mother went off to go do their own thing. And my dad and I, he looked at me and he said, "Hey, son, it's just you and me tonight. Let's go to Disney World and hang out." And we just ran from attraction to attraction, going on rides. We did the Buzz Lightyear, shooting, rail, machine. and my dad got the high score. He did it 3 times in a row. And he kept crushing me with the score. And then we went back to the hotel room and had pizza and watched cartoons and Disney movies. And it was one of the best days of my life. And I was there with my dad. I was there with my pop. And it meant so much to me. And I wish I would have known. And you can't have control over these things, but I'm actually getting emotional in the recording booth. I swear to God, this is not me trying to ham it up. I'm actually very surprised. I had no idea that would be the last time my family would actually be together in harmony, without the dread of knowing that the family was kind of breaking apart. Because after that trip, things went downhill. It took time. It would take about a few years for things to kind of drum out as far as how things would eventually make itself abundantly clear that divorce was on the horizon. But that being said, I still had my precious memory of a Disney trip with my family, and also looking forward to getting my hands on Kingdom Hearts a few months after the trip. Because later on in 2002, the game was released, and I just gravitated towards it. I was on that Disney high. I was I saw Donald and Goofy at Disney, and now I get to hang out with them? Yes, I'm all about this. I want to go to see Aladdin and Little Mermaid because I was at Disney World and now I get to see these Disney characters in game. I'm so excited. So I think in a way my brain really put a lot of significance into these Disney characters and into Kingdom Hearts because it meant so much to me as a kid going on a trip with my family and just having that ignorant bliss of being together and feeling invincible and that our family will always stick by each other's side in harmony. And then over time, in 2003, 2004, just declined, and eventually my parents got separated. And it was a very surreal feeling. It felt like it should have been happening to somebody else. But to everybody else, you are that somebody else. And I had to come to terms that my parents weren't going to stick together, that they were going to split, and that I would be a kid from a family that got divorced. And it was hard to process that. And I wanted to retreat. That's just who I was. I wasn't confrontational. I wanted to be a peacemaker, stay optimistic. And then in order to decompress, I would retreat to my video games. And Kingdom Hearts in particular was my fallback. I would hop into the game and it would make me think about better times. And I felt safe and secure playing as Sora, running around on these adventures. Guys, I 100%ed that game. Not even a joke. I destroyed it. Actually, no, I couldn't defeat Sephiroth. I couldn't beat him. And then I remember putting the game away because I couldn't figure it out. And then in college, when I was like 22 or something, I brought Kingdom Hearts back out. And I was like, oh, it's been a while. And I restarted the game and I'm like, oh, I never beat it. I never defeated Sephiroth. And funny enough, from the time when I stopped playing Kingdom Hearts as a kid and then finally coming back to it in my college days, I played World of Warcraft between those years. So I had like 4 years of like training and raids in World of Warcraft and learning how to like time abilities and be a better player. And it clicked. I was like, oh, that's how you defeat Sephiroth, by doing these moves and by doing this and that. And I beat him. And that's when I 100%ed the game. And I put the controller down the table and it felt like a part of my childhood was completed. And it was a bittersweet feeling. It was almost like revisiting the turmoil of knowing that Kingdom Hearts was a coping mechanism. And as an adult to realize that, to recognize that, to come to terms with that, it was bittersweet, but in a way, it made me feel complete. And that I was still standing on my 2 feet, and that my family, despite having its cataclysm of the parents splitting off, that we still weren't completely shattered. And I don't know, it really made me realize about the power of escapism and video games and how they can really help us along in life. And I'm sure that many of you can relate in different ways with different games. And that's my story. Kingdom Hearts, thank you for helping me to find a place to decompress and hide away during my parents' divorce. And thank you for helping me to come to terms with it years later and move on. It was very therapeutic. And to see Sora end up in Super Smash Brothers, to watch that trailer, got me emotional to hear the music. In another way, I felt even more complete seeing Sora be included in the roster for Super Smash Brothers. It felt right to me. So that's my story to you all. If you all had any experiences or stories as far as how you use video games to get along in life and use it in a way to help you with coping, I'm very curious to know. So thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.